because I'm not participating with the rules for the prizes. I just want to knit all the socks. It's all I'm there for, is knitting socks. Good day everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as the Boervrou, and this is episode 10 of the Crafty Stitches Podcast. Today is Sunday the 1st of May 2022 and I'm coming to you from South Africa. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram and Facebook as the Boervrou and also on my website boervrou.co.za. which I will all, of course, link down below. Right, don't have that much to say for the beginning, so let's just jump right into finished objects. Okay, so for my finished objects, I'm sure you've all seen that I'm wearing this beautiful top that I made. This crochet top. In the previous episode, I was down here and I finished the body and the sleeves. I also added a little, I hope this will be visible on camera, I added a little bit of extra rows in this part of the neck just to help a little bit because I did not do short rows. It is a little bit chilly in the room I'm in, so I'm also wearing this little shawl just for a little bit of extra heat. Anyway, so this is my summer crochet top. I spoke about it a lot in my previous episodes. This is my own design, so it took me quite a few tries to get it right. I'm very, very happy with the end result. I did make a little bit of A-line shaping, did do some A-line shaping, and I've made a lot of notes for this pattern and I am very excited to try this again, but with short rows from the beginning. So I've made a lot of notes of what I would like to do differently and so forth, and I will do another one. Anyway, so yes, I've also had this project as my Encounter Buddy project. The Encounter Buddy train is driven by Gertruida from Ietsie Klein on Instagram, and this was the project that I nominated for the Encounter Buddy train, and I finished it in April. It was finished on Wednesday. I weaved in the ends on Friday. So this was my Encounter Buddy project and I finished it for April. I made this with 100% cotton yarn from Moya, which is hand-dyed yarn from South Africa, in the colorway Periwinkle. And yes, that is it for this project. I'm also wearing my Emiliana shawl, which is also made from cotton yarn. It is a fingering weight cotton yarn, and I did speak about it at length in previous podcast episodes. But anyway, so let's continue. I used a 5mm crochet hook for this project. Okay, so since I've finished this project, my second whip that I've been working on a lot was my Beekeeper Cardigan. So in the meantime, in the previous recording, I was at this point. This is my Progress Keeper from the Lekker podcast made by Jalene. And I have finished the body, as you can see here, and I did the ribbing and the bind off. Okay, so I've actually added some shaping to it, just a little bit, just to help it out a bit. It is going to get a 5 centimeter button band on both sides and at the neck. The body is now finished. So what I did is I did not use the ribbing suggested in the pattern because the pattern suggests 2 different types of ribbing. So I just decided to follow my own head, and I did a 2x2 ribbing, and I finished it off with a Russian bind off. And they were done all in knit stitches. I didn't do it in pattern because I like this little knit stitch. Is it a reach? This patterning that it makes there, I really do like that a lot. And I didn't want it to cinch in too much, but I did go down a needle size for the ribbing because I'm doing this with 5mm Jaigu needles, and I did this ribbing in 4.5mm Jaigu needles. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. Let me just see if I can hold it up a bit better. Can't really see if you can see it in the frame. And that is the back. Anyway, so okay, let me take out this Progress Keeper. So the next thing for this project is I'm going to pick up stitches for the neck. I think the neck is next, and knit the neck, and then lastly do the button bands. And then when I finish that, I will go to the sleeves, and I will pick up these stitches and knit the sleeves to the length that I would like and that I have yarn for, because I am playing a little bit of yarn chicken. I really don't think that I will have too little yarn, because I still have a complete panel that I haven't unraveled yet from this yarn, because it was repurposed yarn. That is my Beekeeper Cardigan, and I'm really very excited about this project. I wish it was finished already so that I can wear it, because we did have quite a few cold mornings here, and winter is definitely coming full force. We already had frost here in the garden, so yes, winter is coming. So I still do have all of this yarn left to do the ribbings, and then, as I said, I still do have like a complete sleeve or something that was already knitted that I can unravel to complete my sleeves with. So I think I've got more than enough yarn for this. My next whip is my Out-Stranding Shawl by Christy Archer Designs. This project has got quite a lot of love and work on. Oh goodness. This project, I did quite a lot on this project, as you can see there, where my Progress Keeper is, which is a Progress Keeper from Ietsie Klein. And I have added all of this knitting to the shawl. I don't know if you'll be able to notice, but this part of the shawl was not blocked and this part was blocked. So what happened with this is The pattern is written for fingering weight yarns, and I am using double knit yarn, but the pattern is written for wool, so I guess 100% wool or 75-25. I do know that the kits that Yarnia sells for these is, some of them is in sock, Madeline Tosh sock or something, so I guess it can also be made with a 75-25. But anyway, so I am using double knit cotton, 100% cotton yarn for this shawl. I think the blocked part looks fabulous. I think it's gonna be great. But now, because I'm using double knit yarn, I was thinking by myself, I should stop before I reach the amount of stitches that is described in the pattern. Otherwise, my shawl is going to be humongous. But I was wrong. So we shall still see how this turns out, because some of my calculations isn't always spot on. But anyway, so what I did is I knitted until a certain point in the shawl, where I thought maybe I must just stop for now. And I put the shawl on waste yarn, and I washed and blocked it. And I actually, before I blocked it, I put it on waste yarn, and I made a drawing of it, and I measured it unblocked. And then I washed it and I blocked it. And when it was dried, I left it unpinned for a day just to relax. And then I measured it again. And my shawl grew about 14% in this length of my triangle, like in the span of the shawl. So what I did is, I called in the help of my husband with maths. And I made a drawing of the shawl and what it looked like, and I took all of the details that I had still in the pattern of how many rows the color work is going to be and how long the border is going to be, and we made a drawing and worked out according to the measurements of the blocked shawl how big the rest of the shawl is going to be that I still need to knit. Let's say, for instance, I still need, the color work is going to be 10 rows, just for the explanation. And so I know I counted 10 rows on my span of my shawl, and I measured that, and that is how I worked out how much, how big the shawl's span will grow when I add the color work. And then I worked out how much I still need to go from where I am now. With that, I still need to knit. And at the end of the day, it came out that I need to knit another 36 rows, of which I just did 30 now. So I'm still about 6 rows out, but I will see, I need to stay in a certain amount of rows for the pattern to work out. So maybe it'll be 4 more rows, or maybe it'll be 8 more rows, whatever's going to fit into the patterning of the shawl. I'll still see about that. I'd rather it be a bit bigger than being too small. So, all of that long explanation just to say that it seems to me that even if you knit with a thicker yarn and a thicker gauge, like my needles is 5.5 millimeters, and I think the pattern is like a 4 or a 4.5 or something. So it's not to say that when you use double knit yarn that your project is going to be bigger. It all seems to depend on the fiber. Now, I will see when this shawl is finished. I will measure it again before I block it, and I'll make note of the parts that is not blocked yet, and see if it does grow again in 14% like it did here. So that'll be a very nice experiment, I think, to understand the behavior of the different yarns that I work with a little bit better, so that when I make something, that I know, okay, this yarn is going to grow about so many percent and you need to make the thing so much smaller, or it's going to shrink by so much and you might need to make it bigger or whatever. So I'm taking a lot of notes with this pattern and that I'm knitting into my knitting journal, so that I know, or actually so that I can learn how my different yarns behave. For instance, with my Larimar tee that I made, I made it with the Moya shimmer yarn, and when I actually put the top on after I made it, it was like a second skin, and after I washed it, it grew quite a lot in width. So that is the type of things that I would like to understand, so that when I make something, I know this yarn grows a lot in width and I must make it smaller or whatever the case may be. So this yarn that I'm using here is the L Cotton On Double Knit yarn. This colorway is called Clay. The colorway has been discontinued, but the yarn, there's beautiful other colorways in this yarn available at the moment. So this is the, as I said, the L, and then I'm going to stripe in some of these colors. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do for the border, but we shall see what I feel like when I get there. Yes, okay, so let me just show this a little bit better maybe before I put it away. It is on a very short cable, so it's a bit difficult to show. But yes, so that is the Outstranding. I do have a little bit of a deadline on this. The spring shawl knit along for this project, which is hosted by Knitty Natty and Yarnia, is ending on the 26th of May, and I would like to be finished with this project by then. So I think this month I'm definitely going to make that my priority project. So I think that is all I can say for this project. I think I might nominate this project for my Accountability Train for May. So let's see how that works out. And then I think I'm going to try to not approach a minimalistic type of knitting, but to just not have so many big projects on the needles at one time, because it is a bit stressful. Not stressful, but it is a bit overwhelming to have so many big projects, because I now had a cardigan, a top, a shawl, a blanket, and socks. And then all my scrappy projects. And in between of all of that, I'm still designing some patterns and stuff. So it is quite a little bit too much maybe to take on. So I decided to make this my priority project and get this one finished, and definitely not cast on another sweater or something. We'll have to clear off the needles a little bit before that. My next whip is my corner to corner waffle stitch blanket. I did only add one stripe to the blanket, but I did one stripe. So this is my blanket so far. And it's growing, but as I just said, I think I have a little bit too many projects that I would like to add a lot on, so I'm not giving this one enough love. But anyway, it'll get done when it gets done. So this is the, as I said, the corner to corner waffle stitch blanket. I am making this with a 4.5mm hook. Let me just move this. I'm making this with a 4.5mm hook and acrylic yarns that I have lying around. and I'm holding the yarn double with one white and one colored yarn, and making 2 rows per color to have like a scrappy effect. I've been debating if I should maybe add this project to my scrappy Sunday crochet, but I think I don't know, it's not really scrappy, but it's also scrappy, so I'll still decide on that, and maybe I'll move it to Sunday so that it can get a little bit of more love than it gets now. So my next whip is my Irene Socks. Didn't even write it on the notes. Okay. So my Irene Socks is made with Esteresa Yarn Creations Clio base, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, 3-ply sock fingering weight. And this is a sock set that I have swapped with Leanie from Independence Crochet. And this is the main color, and this is the mini, which I've housed here in my yarn cake cozies, the 100-gram yarn cake cozy and the 50-gram yarn cake cozy. And this is what I have done so far. Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm using this Progress Keeper from Ietsie Klein, and this is where I was in my previous episode, and I've done all of this knitting. I've put in the heel in the mini, the contrasting color, and yes, I wanted to say as well that yeah, I knitted this heel 3 times, I think. 3rd time's the charm. But anyway, so I only now understand why people always say, oh, just add your favorite heel into the pattern, or like something like that. And when I chose this pattern and I saw that it had a heel flap and gusset, I was sold on the pattern because I love a heel flap and gusset. I've heard many things of all of the other types of heels, but I've never tried any of the other heels. This fits me nicely, so I thought just stick to what works. But anyway, so what happened that I had to knit it 3 times is that I followed the pattern exactly, and the heel construction is different to what I'm used to. It's got, yeah, I don't know, a little bit more of a squarish type of heel turn, but I ripped it back and I added my own heel turn that I use for my socks, which has got more of a rounded heel turn. And then the amount of rows that they knit in the pattern for the heel flap was too big for my foot. So what happened is I knit the whole heel, did the heel turn in the pattern, didn't like the heel turn that much, but put it on and saw that it doesn't fit my heel. The heel turn was too small for my heel. So I ripped the heel turn back and I knit my own heel turn, and I picked up the stitches and I was about there. And then I fit the sock again, and then I saw, oh my goodness, the sock is way too big because of the extra stitches of the rows of the heel flap. So I ripped everything back again, and I ripped back until where I usually stop my heel flaps, and then I added my heel turn, and I picked up the stitches, and I went for it, and now the sock fits me. But anyway, so it's not the pattern's fault. Pattern is written very nicely. It's just, everybody is different, and it's like sweaters and cardigans and all of those stuff. Everybody's body is a bit different, and you find what works for you, and then you stick to that. It is great to try other things, because now I know that the other types of what to look for actually in a heel flap and gusset construction to make sure that the sock fits me. But anyway, so this is a beautiful, beautiful pattern. Just look at those little faux cables. Really, really pretty on the front, and then this is what it looks like on the back. Isn't that fun? So pretty. I'm really, really, really loving this sock. I do, however, am noticing. I actually noticed this in my previous socks as well. I don't know. I'm gonna stretch it a lot, and then you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I don't get this with my toe-up socks when I increase for the gusset and not decrease. So what I notice is that I have a gap here in the knitting part of my socks. Where I do the decrease, I've got that. It almost looks like ladders. And yeah, it's not that pretty. So if you have any suggestions on how to avoid that when doing cuff down socks, please comment down below and send that my way. I would really like to eliminate that laddering effect that is happening there. And it does happen on both sides. Yeah, it does happen on both sides. Not so much this side. But yeah, this side is quite pronounced, as you can see there. Anyway, so if you have any suggestions to avoid that, please send it my way. I would really love to eliminate that. So that is that basically for my socks. I am using my 2.5mm Chiagu needles for this project, and I am making a 64 stitch sock. I usually make my socks 60 stitches, but this pattern is written for I think it's a 56, 64 and 70 something sock, because of the stitch pattern and so forth. That is the stitch amounts that it comes to. Okay, so yes, I think that is all I can say about these socks. I'm really looking forward to finishing these, not because I want them off the needles, but because I would love to see what they look like when they're done. I am going to make the toe in the mini as well. So yeah, it actually, here at the bottom, I think you can see how beautifully the mini blends into the main color. Really, really, really pretty yarn. Okay, so that is my socks. Right, so that is all of my active projects at the moment, apart from my Scrappy Sunday projects. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about future projects. I am waiting for my 9-inch Chiagu circular needles to arrive, and I would, because I have another hank of yarn from Naughty Habit that I bought, which is the same the same composition as the African Expression Soul yarn. It's got the same percentages of mohair and things in it. And she also said to me that I need to knit it on a smaller gauge. So I am going to use a 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circular to knit with this yarn, because I'm not doing the DPNs again. Otherwise, those socks will take me another 2 months to finish. But anyway, so I'm waiting for that. And then I also want to participate in this year's summer sock camp hosted by the Crazy Sock Lady. I have participated last year as well. And I would love to do that again because it's so much fun, and it's just, I don't know, I love to knit alongside other people. It's a little bit of a, I don't know, I like the community sense of a knit along. But anyway, so, and I like the fact actually that you can knit any weight of yarn for summer sock camp. I'm not participating for any prizes really, and I don't really even submit my finished objects into the Ravelry groups and so forth. I am just challenging myself to do different methods and learn new things. So this year I'm definitely going to do the 9-inch circulars for camp as well. And I don't know though if I'm going to wait until summer sock camp before I cast on with the 9-inch circulars. But anyway, I'm not following all of the rules for summer sock camp because, as I said, I don't submit my socks for prizes. So I just cast on beforehand if I want to or not, because the rules don't all apply to me because I'm not participating with the rules for the prizes. I just want to knit all the socks. It's all I'm there for, is knitting socks. Anyway, so I did see that Kay brought out a information video on summer sock camp. I will also link that down below if you're interested. For us here in South Africa, it's not summer sock camp, but winter sock camp. But luckily, it's all hosted online and in the comfort of your own home. So I usually sit in front of the fireplace knitting my socks. Alright, so something else that happened as well is I usually, when somebody subscribes to the channel and I see who it is, I go and see if they do have a channel in the sense of podcasts or videos or something. So this lady subscribed, and her name is Ingrid, and the channel's name is Ingrids Inspirations. I will link it down below. And I actually went and watched a few of her videos. Very lovely lady, and she actually left a comment on my video saying that she's going to do a shout out of me on her channel. So she actually has just reached 500 subscribers, which opens a community tab so that you can post on YouTube. And she actually did a little shout out to my channel and posted one of my videos there for people to find me. And I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much, Ingrid. I really appreciate it. It's lovely for all of us as a community to come together and help each other out and let more people know about us. Because, you know, it's the funniest thing to me that before I actually started the podcast, I would search for South African podcasts and knitting podcasts in South Africa, and I could never find anything. It was the funniest thing. The only person I ever found, and that's also not through YouTube search, was made by Jalene, the Lekker podcast. I actually met her on a Naughty Habit Zoom knit night, and I heard that she had a podcast, and I went over and subscribed, and that's how I found her. But I haven't found any other South African podcasters through a search on YouTube. So now, after I've started the podcast, I actually find more and more people and see more knitting podcasts popping up in my feed. And then some of them I can see that they've been there for years, but I just never got the suggestion. So I don't know how it works, but I'm very grateful that some of the people that actually does come over subscribes and leave a comment so that we can see and hear about them, and also go follow them and have a look at their channels and support them in that way. So yes, that was very nice. I'm really glad that I found somebody else that's also podcasting. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that we also have another South African podcaster now on YouTube. I will link her down below. Tanya, I saw her post on Instagram that she made her first video episode, and it's also a lovely episode to go and watch. I'll link it down below. And then the other thing for news is we had our monthly Scrappy Sunday chat, which is hosted by myself and Leanie of Independence Crochet. And we had our first ever guest on the Scrappy Sunday chat. It was a live Scrappy Sunday chat, which was live on Independence Crochet's YouTube channel. And then afterwards, I've put the video on my own channel as well. So if you missed that, you're more than welcome to go and have a look. It is a chat, once a month chat, that we share all of the progress on our scrappy projects with everybody, and hear what they are doing and so forth. We don't share the scrappy projects on our normal podcasts. So that is quite nice to get people's suggestions for scrappy projects and patterns and so forth. So I'm very looking forward. I'm looking forward to the next one for this month as well, because we will be having a guest again, but my lips are sealed. You'll just have to wait to see who it is. Anyway, all right. And then lastly, last week I brought out 2 new tutorials for the channel, which is my method of making granny squares and the join as you go method that I use to join my granny squares. So this is basically what it looks like. So I have 2 different methods for making my granny squares. If my granny squares is multicolored like this one, I have a method where I do that. And if I do a granny square in one color, where all of my rounds is the same color, I use a different method. One of the methods is specifically to prevent your granny square from going wonky, where it like does that type of effect. But anyway, I'll link both of the tutorials down below. And this is actually one of the projects that I made with this method, which is this beautiful scarf. Let me turn it around. Which is this beautiful scarf. It's quite a long scarf. This one is about 2 meters long, because I like to wear my scarves like this, so that they're nice and bulky here. This was actually designed for a crochet class that I had here a few years ago, and I taught the people how to make the squares and how to join them together and make this beautiful granny square scarf. You can of course make blankets and everything and anything with this method, but as I said, I'll be linking both of the videos down below. If you're interested, you can go and have a look at those. I also thought that I would like to share some podcasts that I like watching and that I enjoy, and maybe you haven't heard of them, and then in this manner you can find them too. I thought I will share 2 podcasts in every episode that I make for the time being. I do have a very long list, so yeah, it'll take me a while to get through them. But the first one is Martina from We Grow Wild, the We Grow Wild channel, the Wild Knitting Podcast. I really like to watch her and see all of her projects. She mainly knits with plant-based fibers, so that is very interesting to see how they knit up and all of those things. She really has a I don't know, a nice vibe in her podcasts. But I really enjoy watching her projects. She also makes beautiful wooden buttons with olive wood, and actually inspired me to try doing the same type of thing, making my own buttons. So I might show you sometime in the future what that looks like. But anyway, so I will link that down below. And then the other podcast that I really enjoy watching is the Sunbird Crochet podcast. Claudia is a crochet designer as well. She designed a few patterns for the Mariette magazine, and she's got a very fun podcast and beautiful projects. She recently made a few mussel burrow hats, and yeah, I don't know, between her and Leanie's mussel burrow hats and Jalene's mussel burrows, I think I'm gonna have to fit that in my knitting schedule. That looks like a lot of fun. So yes, that is my two podcast suggestions for this episode. Please go over and have a look, and if you like their channels as well, subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of their content. Okay, and that is all that I have for you this week with projects and news, as far as I can remember. And then I would like to end off the podcast with my normal or usual comment question. So my comment question for this week is, do you knit just specific projects to fit your wardrobe or lifestyle, or do you just knit whatever is beautiful to you and comes your way? I am trying very hard to knit things that is practical for myself to use, or if I make it for somebody else, I will try and make it so that it's practical for them to use in their life, rather than just making something that is going to lay on a heap somewhere and nobody's going to love or use. So it'll be very interesting for me to hear what your take is on the project that you make. Is it something that has to be specific to fit into your wardrobe, or do you just make things for the fun of it? That is all of the projects that I have this episode. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing and commenting and supporting the channel in that way. If you like this video, please consider to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more of my content. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.